Chapter 166 Savage. Haha. I found it. I knew that Junior Marshall's sister was certain to carry it with her, and sure enough, I was right. Senior Marshall brother Lou was wild with joy, finding a small red wooden box after rummaging through her things. He had already opened the lid, but because of Han Li's angle, Han Li could not clearly see what was within the box. His curiosity was extremely great, but he didn't dare to act blindly. It should be known that since this person was so savage as to able to act against his own female companion, if he were to discover this Junior Marshall brother, he was certain to kill Han Li in order to silence him. He would not be left alone. In addition, he previously witnessed the power of the other party's wind attribute magic techniques. Regardless of whether it was used to attack or defend, they were incomparably sharp. How could someone compete against this all-purpose magic? Even more was that the other party's magic power was far deeper than his own, at the center of the 12th layer. Just like that, regardless of magic power or magic techniques, he was at an absolute disadvantage. It appeared that he had no chances of success. But Han Li knew that if he truly fought with his all, he would be able to contend against him. After all, with his original magic tools and the magic tools he had just acquired, he couldn't possibly be a pushover. If that moment came, it would be uncertain who would kill whom. Regardless, Han Li had no interest in using his life to play hero and save the beauty. After all, he had no relations to that Junior Marshall sister Chen. It was she who had eyes but did not notice that she took an ingrate for a lover, thereby delivering herself to him. Who was to blame? Why would Han Li want to put his life on the line for no reason or cause? He certainly didn't have such a great resolve. As a result, he intended to quietly watch the show until the end. Afterwards, when that Senior Marshall brother Lou walked away, he would have nothing to do with him. Naturally, Han Li would be certain to later pay more attention to this Senior Marshall brother Lou. After all, this was the first time he had seen a person capable of becoming this cruel and savage. Seeing him this ruthless, Han Li could only concede defeat. With this thought, Han Li stealthily used the chi restraining technique he had recently learned. He feared that the other party would accidentally react to his existence and cause him to have no option but to fiercely fight to the end. At this moment, Senior Marshall brother Lou placed the small wooden box into his own storage pouch. Then he depravedly laughed several times and moved closer to Junior Marshall's sister Chen at his side. He excitedly proceeded to tear away the maiden's clothing while speaking his thoughts to himself, causing Han Li, hidden to the side, to tremble with disgust upon hearing him. Junior Marshall's sister, you mustn't blame me. There is nothing brother can do about this. You should know that crafty and unruly girl, Dong, kindly said that so long as I thoroughly sever my relationship with you and reach Foundation establishment, she will pair cultivate with me. She could request that great-aunt ancestor of hers in the sect, Marshall aunt ancestor Hong Fu, to personally accept me as her disciple, imparting great world-shaking godly knowledge. This is a golden opportunity bestowed by the heavens. This Senior Marshall brother doesn't wish to miss this and therefore has no better option but to wrong Junior Marshall's sister. The Junior Marshall sister Chen lied down on the floor with flames in her eyes. After she heard him empty his heart out, she shook like a leaf from anger, wishing she could immediately get up and ruthlessly bite away at him to appease the resentment in her heart. Unfortunately, this unfaithful lover had earlier used the wind-binding technique to restrict her entire body. She was fundamentally incapable of moving in even the slightest and was even unable to open her mouth to rain curses. She could only move in accordance to his will. After she heard her former lover's words, her limbs became colder, and her face grew pale. Sigh. If Junior Marshall's sister weren't the Chen clan leader's only daughter, I might have let Junior Marshall's sister go. But I am truly afraid of Junior Marshall's sister's love changing into hate, possibly drawing support from the Chen clan's power to retaliate against elder brother. They would also spread this matter to all places, causing elder brother's reputation to fall. In addition, I have also heard people say that Marshall aunt ancestor Hong Fu loathes fickle and unrighteous men the most. That is why for Senior Marshal Brother's wonderful opportunity and reputation, Junior Marshal Sister must disappear from this world. Surely no one would suspect me, after all, we were previously such a loving couple. Senior Marshal Brother said this hypocritically. Still, his hands didn't stop in the slightest. Junior Marshal Sister Chen's clothing was entirely torn apart in the blink of an eye, leaving her completely bare. Having seen the beautiful scene before his eyes, Elder Marshal Brother Lu's eyes became even more lustful. His fingers slowly began to slide across her smooth skin, wanting to carefully sample her appearance. He continued saying, however, what tempted me the most was that Junior Marshal Sister, just like me, had actually yet to consume her Foundation establishment pill. She probably also wished to wait until after a great success in her Foundation cultivation technique to take the pill. After all, if it is taken like that, the odds of achieving Foundation establishment are slightly increased. As he spouted this out, he clicked his tongue. Regardless, since Junior Marshal Sister wishes to hand it over to Elder Brother along with her untouched and innocent body, it can be seen that she does not hate to part with this Foundation establishment pill. I am also somewhat worried that taking one Foundation establishment pill truly is not enough. I fear that I may fail at becoming Foundation establishment. After all, even if I have mutated spiritual roots, there is still a chance I may fail at achieving Foundation establishment. However, now that I have Junior Marshal Sister's pill, achieving Foundation establishment isn't a problem at all. With this said, Senior Marshal Brother Lu withdrew his hands and took out the wooden box he just put away in an azure porcelain bottle. He looked to his left and right hands with a complacent appearance. Having stealthily heard everything while concealed behind a stone, Han Li was lost in thought. All of a sudden, 2 Foundation establishment pills had appeared before his eyes. This was far too great a temptation. After all, did he not plan to participate in the trial of blood and fire for Foundation establishment pills? If he wasn't required to brave that strange danger to obtain Foundation establishment pills, he would naturally be eager to give it a try. With this thought, Han Li attentively observed Senior Marshal Brother Lu's every movement. If the other party exposed an opening, he would not hesitate to immediately act and kill this person, seizing the 2 Foundation establishment pills. Presently, that Junior Marshal Sister Chen appeared peculiarly ill. Her bitterly resentful expression had gradually faded away, replaced by an intoxicated expression. Her bare skin appeared pink, and her sweet lips trembled without letting out a sound. It seems the joyful meeting pill's effects have appeared. Currently, Junior Marshal Sister is surely feeling extremely unwell. To repay Junior Marshal Sister's great kindness, Elder Brother can only thank you for a moment and let Junior Marshal Sister experience the feeling of wanting to live and die. This can be regarded as paying back Junior Marshal Sister's affections in the past. Without the slightest shame, Senior Marshal Brother Lu thought this out loud and put away the objects in his hand. He began to move his hands toward his belt, seemingly intending to undress so that he may fornicate her as he pleased. With this scene, Han Li's heart beated. If he could take advantage of Senior Marshal Brother Lu after he stripped naked and attack him, then the other party would surely be confused, enabling him to finish it in one fell swoop. Han Li thought more and more, feeling that his certainty of success was great. Then he paid greater attention to Senior Marshal Brother Lu and subconsciously looked several times at his face. Something's wrong. After Han Li looked several times more, he immediately discovered the problem. Although this Senior Marshal Brother Lu was flusteredly removing his belt, the time he took was rather far too long. Until now, his belt was still properly connected and hadn't loosened one bit. What was even more strange was that Senior Marshal Brother Lu's face wore a hurried expression, but his eyes were calm and sober, without the slightest disarray. There was even the intention of a sneer concealed within. Thump. Han Li's heart beated. This was far too abnormal. His heart grew vigilant, and he hastily widened his spiritual sense. He then took out a water barrier talisman and slapped it onto his palm. Just as he finished this, Han Li suddenly felt something flying towards him from his left without a sound. Had he not previously opened his spiritual sense, he may have simply been unable to perceive it. This caused him to be frightened and furious. Han Li didn't think any further and hastily slapped the talisman onto his body. A deep blue barrier immediately wrapped around him. At the same time, an azure rope flew toward him and wound around him. The blue light interrupted it just in time. Yi. Humph. Senior Marshal Brother Lu and Han Li let out a sound at the same time. However, Senior Marshal Brother Lu was somewhat surprised that his sneak attack had failed, while Han Li was startled and furious from nearly falling into his sinister, cunning trap. Good. Good. You've reacted quite quickly. It seems your esteemed self is truly not simple. However, my dear friend has spectated for such a long time. Shouldn't you come out and have a chat with Senior Marshal Brother Lu? Senior Marshal Brother Lu retracted the azure rope to his hand. He coldly and calmly said these words towards where Han Li was hiding. It seemed that he had discovered a trace of him earlier.